Welcome, friends, on behalf of Crystal Clarity Publishers, Ananda Sangha Worldwide. It's a joy to share with you our new release, Trained in Divine Love, My Life with Paramhansa Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda by Nayaswami Anandi. And we have the joy to have Nayaswami Bharat, who was married to Anandi for many years, with us. Welcome, Bharat.
Thank you very much.
So, I wanted to start by asking you a question because not everyone may know Anandi. Could you tell us a little bit about her background and how she became connected with Yogananda and Swami Kriyananda?
Yes, Anandi's purpose in the book was talking about how she was trained in divine love. So we didn't go too much into the biographical information. But Anandi was born in 1947 on April 2nd, 5 miles away from Nayaswami Devi in St. Louis. And later they became dear friends, so it's very interesting that they grew up so close together. And Anandi, her uncle was a dentist, and Paramhansa Yogananda, when he would do his tours to the United States, he would stop in St. Louis and Master would get the dental work done, and he was a real close disciple, and he wrote a letter to Anandi's uncle saying, if you stand behind the St. Louis Center, God will give you many, many blessings.
Wow.
And some of the older children, they met Master, and then Anandi's younger sister, she lives in Encinitas, and she's a devotee, and her mother became a devotee at the last part of her life. So she had a very a deep connection, her whole family did. Wow. With Master.
Now, in the book, I know you've broken it down for Anandi here into 3 parts. Part 1, My Life with Swami Kriyananda. Part 2, My Inner Life with Paramhansa Yogananda. And Part 3, Infinite Freedom. Some people might wonder, well, was Anandi with Paramhansa Yogananda?
Yes.
So because she didn't meet Yogananda in the body, he had already left the body in 1952. How did she develop that inner connection and that inner life with Yogananda?
Well, the true guru-disciple relationship is one in eternity, and it's not confined by space or time. It's really, it's a mature love that the disciple has that draws them close, and Master's always with us and guiding us, even if we aren't familiar. But Anandi had a practice on her, on Master's birthday, January 5th, she would write a letter to him, and she would ask him questions, and it was a very intuitive correspondence, and she would get answers. And at one point, she was talking with Master, and Anandi said, she felt Master saying to her, you have no more quirks. And Anandi said, yes, I know. and it was a very responsive thing. And then when she'd go in seclusion, Anandi she would write long letters to Master. And just, of course, she was keeping him in mind the whole time. Yeah. So it was a very living relationship. And then, of course, she had Swami Kriyananda in the flesh, but I think Swami was more in the astral world or cosmic world, reaching out to us even in life. There was a great saint that said that you'll never know who Swami really is until he leaves you, and that. But we've always have felt that closeness with Swami.
Yeah. I just read that quote this morning. I think this is the letter you were referring to that Anandi wrote to Yogananda. Thoughts of you, these are Anandi's words to Yogananda. Thoughts of you fill my heart today. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I felt you looking thoughtfully at me, and inwardly I heard you say, the quirks have disappeared. I think so too. When a ship is taken into pure water, the barnacles drop off. Similarly, when God allows a devotee to live in the pure spiritual water that surrounds a guru, faults disappear without effort. I thought that was so beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's probably my favorite part of the whole book. And Anandi, she was very earnest as a devotee, as all devotees should be. And the slightest sort of flaw in thinking on her part, she would offer it up to Master Swami, because she wanted to grow and to learn. You know, I'm reminded of the astral world. We still have egos in the astral world, but when our emotions get off center, we feel more pain than usual than we do on earth. And but on earth, Anandi, she was earnestly trying to rid every delusive thought, attitude, and so it was just really beautiful to see, because she had that such a tremendous self-honesty and courage to really set aside anything that kept her from God.
Yeah. Was there was an example I recall, I don't remember the exact instance in the book, where it was kind of a humorous story, but I think it also expressed that courage and self-honesty, where Swami Kriyananda, hit her over the head and said mosquito. Do you recall this story? I don't remember.
Oh, yes. She was feeling a little sad about something that happened, or got a little emotional over it, and maybe it was something about meditation, and she felt Satan saying to her, if you're really sincere, you would meditate more. This is in her early years.
Right.
And so Anandi was a little bit weepy, but holding it together. And Swami just went, bam, hit her on the head and said, mosquito. And Anandi just sort of woke up and perked up, and it was gone. And, when you're close, with Swami and Master, just their eyes, just a quick word, you get the point. They won't explain it to you. They'll often do a dramatic action to stop your thinking and to get rid of the whole thing.
That was another point that really struck me in here, is how she, like you were saying, made that constant effort to keep that connection with Yogananda alive through Swami Kriyananda. And there was, in the book, this image that Anandi placed, this simple poster on her desk to remind her to channel the healing energy. And it says, those that can't see it, spiritual eye, spine, Master's healing energy flowing through me to others. So did she had this on her desk, and she would use this as a reminder?
And I have it at home now. And, Yogananda, as you know, taught us to always focus at the spiritual eye and promise that we could advance very quickly on the path. And Anandi took that advice really to heart. And she would, wherever she walked, she would focus at the spiritual eye. She worked at Ananda's guest retreat, The Expanding Light, and spoke to many of the guests and thousands. And she would just feel, her spiritual eye and spine, and then she would help transmit that energy. And Master said that when we focus on the spiritual eye, a universal love flows through us throughout all creation. And so she, it was a practice she really adhered to, and was always focused there. And she said in her journals that we have to focus there all the time. And this really helped her in the end, because towards the last part of her life, actually before the last part, there was a psychic in Encinitas, and Anandi's sister had just spoken Anandi's name aloud. And the psychic said, just pointed here and said, she lives all the time there, and which was indicative of that she was living there. And there was a practice that became so deep for Anandi that she said often Swami Kriyananda's and her spiritual eye were the same, were united. And I mean, it's all comes from the spiritual eyes. So if we go deep enough, it would have to be. And then she had a terminal illness, lasted 2 months that we were aware of. It was cancer. And she couldn't get medication before it was diagnosed. It was just maybe 3 weeks after the diagnosis that she passed away. And she had such a strong practice of gazing at the spiritual eye that that's all she could do. All night long, she just kept her mind focused there. And she couldn't get relief through pain. So she would just pray to Master and ask for help. She wasn't able to really do the practices. But I think that's what freed her, because she started to appear to different people 3 days before her death and blessing people with bliss. And it was that strong practice awareness there that enabled her to just leave everything behind.
I know that Swami Kriyananda, you've talked about this before, talked about death as being the final exam, and it sounds like all that lifetime of preparation that Anandi did with her discipleship really prepped her. I wondered if you could share, I reread this part, a few weeks, this is from the Infinite Freedom part of the book, Expanding Love. A few weeks before she passed, Anandi told me, these are your words, and then Anandi saying, "My heart has been at peace since the beginning. When she heard her cancer was untreatable, she smiled and quietly cheered, 'Hooray!' So eager was she to go with our gurus to God." I was so touched and impressed by this, that she embraced that diagnosis of untreatable cancer and imminent death, so to speak, with joy. Could you share a little bit about that, how she made that approach?
There was a special grace during that time. She first thought maybe it was stomach flu. We didn't know, but it was much more than that, because it continued. And during the time of her passing, which was 2 months, there was just this calm vibration in the house. And we only talked about her passing for about 17 seconds, and that was it. The only thing that we brought up, there was just something she wanted, maybe where her ashes were to be, but it was just very minor, and there's just no questions to ask. I was just trying to help her to be strong enough for the process. And she commented on how beautiful it was that she or I felt any sense of attachment or hanging on, and it allowed her to really find that freedom. She, when she got the diagnosis, which took 5 weeks into the 8 weeks, they gave her morphine. And she said, "Oh my God, this is the best vacation ever." And but she just released everything, and she was just very quiet and total offering to God. And she earned the best vacation ever by transcending her body. And in 3 days, previous to the actual passing, she was really free, and she was traveling beyond her body. And I think you yourself said that you used to pray for Anandi, and then you were starting to pray with Anandi and that, or to Anandi, which you said. And many people had experiences of Anandi all across the world because she was free of everything. And Swami said that no matter how close we are in our relationships, even divine relationships, the soul needs to go singly to God. And so she didn't want anyone else in the house, even our spiritual directors, Nayaswami, Jyotish, and Devi, or other dear friends. It was just, everybody was with her in spirit.
Yeah.
But she needed to go alone, and it really, so she really followed that advice, and she was free. And what was very interesting is that people would set up a place to meditate for Anandi outside the house, and in the sort of where we parked the cars, and during that time, people go out there and pray, and Anandi just said she could feel their prayers so strong. Of course, I could too, but I think when you're on the other side, you feel them even stronger. And Nandi just said, I just wish they knew how much she appreciated the prayers and their love. And so she said that, but the interesting thing was that she would be out there in her astral form, and one time even as a deer to somebody she was meditating with them out there as they were meditating for her. And, that's what love is, reciprocal, and that's what unites us all together. And so,
It sounds like that she lived that song Swami Kriyananda wrote, Go On Alone.
Yes.
And then at the end, I mean, she was so personal and attentive and loving to the guests that came to the expanding light in your marriage in a personal way. And then at the end, she left in this way, going straight to God.
Yes.
Now that type of inner freedom comes from, the title of the book, being trained in divine love. There was another story, I don't know if I can, here it is. In the spring of 1972, instead of joining the monastery, I had a little cabin built for me at the meditation retreat. And she goes on that she had these difficulties. I thought that I could surely help this person, but after a couple of months of working together, I was a confused mess filled with doubts and misery. I got a ride to Swamiji's dome and asked what I should do. He commented, "You have too much ego. Ego attracts ego." He then asked if the man had to finish the house. When I said I thought it would be awkward to stop the process, at this point he said simply, "Go into silence." I did so immediately and found that my consciousness changed right away. Swamiji's loving thoughts were probably a key. But I don't know, the story, it's a strong medicine story, but being trained in divine love, Swamiji was helping her become free of ego. And I wonder if there are some stories from your experience being married with Anandi that you felt that personal love, if you will, come through.
Well, Anandi, Swami gave her the perfect advice, because if she tried to discuss things with a fellow, with the carpenter that was building the house and invested in the job, it wouldn't have gone anywhere. And he had such a negative approach to things and was confused himself that, in stillness, all our problems are solved. And because we go beyond reaction. And if we react to somebody, they react to us and all that. But in stillness, people don't feel a threat. There's clarity and everything. So, and Ananda, it took a lot of courage for her to do that, but not courage so much as trust. And when Anandi, she first didn't join the monastery because she just moved to Ananda 6 months earlier, and she was what? And in fact, the day of the initiation, she left the village when all the others were initiated. But then she came back and she joined, and Anandi asked Swami, "What should I do?" And he says, "You know what to do." And that in personal personal love, which are two aspects of divine love. I had a conversation with Anandi after she left, and she had given me a very deep experience in meditation, and where I was leaving my body and I left body consciousness. And in this conversation, about a year after it happened, or maybe a year and a half, I asked her about that, and it's just some aspect of it. But she said, I'm trying to bring all my friends there. And it was like, because we had a wonderful relationship, it was just so harmonious, and Ananda always sought harmony and that. But
this was an inner experience after she left the
yeah,
body.
yeah, after she left the body. And but she always, like, her universal love is like a person is a window for love and helps us get in tune with it. But then you go to, like Swami said, we should be in love with love, and see love all creation, the rocks, the birds, everything. And in that mindset, because everybody feels a particular connection with Master and a personal love from him, or him helping us in a specific way, but that, like Swami said, that no one is more important than anyone else. It's all equal, and because that's what love is expansive. And at the end of the conversation, Nandi said, only love exists, and it's for all of us. I happen to have been married to her, and it was an incredible marriage and friendship. But Anandi had a relationship that was very deep and profound for, everyone she met that way. And so.
Could you tell us a little bit, Bharat, about your marriage in that way? I mean, you had a spiritual marriage, a divine marriage, and many people are looking for spiritual relationships. Is there a secret or two that you could share that worked for you and Anandi to hold that type of relationship, over decades, and really, saw her to leave in such a free way?
Yeah. Anandi wrote once that, of herself, and it was the same with me, of by being monastics first before our marriage, we had to look to ourselves for our happiness. It wasn't something we get through our partner or situations. And so this creates two people that are very strong and centered and can really give love and harmonize with another person. And so anyway, so we both had that behind us. And then we both always sought harmony with each other and our love, and nothing else interfered with that. I was thinking of maybe the meanest thing I ever said to Ananda. We were in Cornell on vacation, and there was just something that was going on with our energy. And then I said to Anandi, you're not fun to go to the movies with. And I just said that because, but it was like, all marriages have their challenges in that. And, people, can't be walkovers and that. But it really came down to that line. And if we just always sought harmony because that was the bigger picture. And and serving Ananda together, and just giving love to people in many ways. Ananda traveled the world with me, and so it was not only through the sharing nature work, but of course through Ananda events and expanding light. You just get out of yourself. Your world is much bigger. When your world is small, the little hurts become magnified. But when you have a sense of self-forgetfulness, everything else disappears into a bigger reality, a more profound love.
It reminds me of that line Swami wrote in the Festival of Light: pain is the fruit of self-love, whereas joy is the fruit of love for God.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you two had a God-centered
Mm-hmm.
life first before you got together,
Mm-hmm.
and that really helped
Mm-hmm.
give that strong foundation
Yes.
for
Yes.
a life together in God.
Yeah.
What does, for those that don't know, what does Anandi mean, and how did she express that in her life?
Okay.
Because that was a spiritual name.
Yes.
That Swami, and maybe, I don't know if there's a story behind how she got that name.
Well, Anandi, it's a Sanskrit name, and it means joy. And she just brought joy into everywhere she went and with everyone. And her smile was just so magnetic, and and people were really drawn to her. They really felt seen through her, and she genuinely just thought of other people and could see their highest potential, and so it disarmed people, and they would open up to her. And she was often asked to, at the Expanding Light, our guest retreat, to take care of challenging situations, either with the guests or maybe the staff. And everybody knew that they had a friend in Anandi, and it would just relax everything, and people would express more of a higher part of themselves. And so she had a beautiful sense of humor, and would laugh, and there was just a real joyous quality. There's a picture of Nayaswami Seva and Anandi, and they were just enjoying their bliss together. And one of the Ananda community photographers.
Was it this
Yes.
picture?
Yeah, this one right here.
Maybe we can just hold it up so people can see it. Beautiful picture. Yeah.
And then Ananda's photographer, Barbara, she said that everybody just loved looking at Anandi's face because it was just radiated joy. And it was fun for me to watch that over the years, because it was always joyful there, but it just became even more pronounced.
Were there any, because I know she did have such a great sense of humor, like you were saying too, any stories that come to your mind about just how her sense of perspective and keeping things light in that way through humor?
Well, there was, she was in charge of the recordings department, and Ananda could actually be very forthright to help people get rid of delusive behaviors or thoughts or something, especially if it was something that keeping them from going forward on the path. But there was one young gentleman that worked in the department, and this young girl came and knocked at the door of the recording studio, and Anandi said his name, "Your distraction's here." And then I came across the email. I just finished the flow learning book, and Nandi edited my books. She was a great editor, and so it was the email, and she was sending what she edited to me, and she wrote the email. I had to kill a lot of your babies. They should stay dead.
About you edited.
Yeah, well, because the joke of it is that there was a beautiful statement by a Taoist, and he meditated on the river, and he said, "The sound of water says what I think is so absorbed in the river." And so I wanted to use that, and I used it in chapter 2, and Anandi took it out, and then I thought I'd use it in chapter 4. She took it out, and then chapter 6. So now I'm free to use it. Now that she's not in the habit of throwing bolts from the heavens, bolts of lightning. But anyway, she just yeah, that laughter, we just didn't take things seriously. And I think that's a real key for couples, because it makes light of situations that could become more intense if we didn't have that perspective, that it doesn't really matter. And so there was always just a lot of laughter and, between us and all her friends. That's a real trait of Ananda people.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautiful. And her editing, of your books, I also brought with us the first Wisdom of Yogananda, Volume 1 here, How to Be Happy All the Time, which are Yogananda's words, of course, that Anandi edited. And she started with crystal clarity, this series, and did, I think, was the first 8 volumes on the Wisdom of Yogananda. But a lot of people don't know that, and she didn't want credit for it, and that this isn't to give her praise in that way, but to highlight one of her divine attributes here as well, like you were talking about, that calm, concentration, and focus. So I wonder if you could share a little bit about that as, one of the ways that led to her being trained in divine love, just that type of persistence and focus and clarity with the editing.
One thing that was very, very interesting about Anandi is that she was not drawn to a lot of other things. She had her main purpose in life was to know God and share Him with others, to be a channel for Master and Swamiji, and express their love to other people and perfect her own love in the abundance of what she received from them, and then to serve Ananda to every ounce of her strength. And so she wasn't interested in a lot of other things at all. It was just that, and she was comparing herself to her other peers that were founding members of Ananda, maybe like Nayaswami Shivani and Nayaswami Devi. They had big works and projects. And Anandi, she didn't have anything like that, but she did. She didn't have a sense of being the doer of anything. And so she would just think, well, I don't have a mission. But her mission was just perfecting her own divine love in herself and sharing that with other people. And of course she did many, many things. She organized all the events at Ananda for many years, and Kriya lessons and Sunday services, and a real key player, Expanding Light. And after her death, we probably received 1,200 letters of people are saying it was how authentic Anandi was.
Wow.
And made the teaching so accessible, and made people feel like, I can do this too, because of that honesty. And she just walked people through, and it made perfect sense.
Yeah.
And so all that quality of not just doing it for God was really purified our heart, and that, and and it was just like that reading. You said it's she was in seclusion. It says all you, and nothing else. An interesting thing during the period of time, she was editing the How to Be a Success book in the Wisdom series. And she got this idea that she could, because Ananda needed money at that time, she could create a little business using the principles from this book. And then she just pulled back from it, because just Master was so close, and she was living moment to moment with Master. She just didn't want to get out of the you relationship. Swami once said in a tape on how to commune with God, that because of our restlessness, we keep asking God, what would you like me to do? What would you like me to do? Could it be this? Could it be this, God? And God just says, okay for now. But it really wants us to just go into stillness and commune with Him. And that's where Anandi got that. I mean, she always wanted to help and did help and do projects, but that was the bottom line.
Yeah, I think that's for me, one of the most inspiring aspects of her, that you did, like you said, you felt she shared so openly and honestly that you felt like, oh, well, you could do it too.
Yes.
And I think she gives us that hope and encouragement.
In the back of the book, there's a lot of links to her talks. So
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about. There was a talk of hers that a friend of ours, Aaron, posted recently. It was, I think, one from Spiritual Renewal Week, maybe 2015 or 17, somewhere in there. But it was such a beautiful talk. And Anandi was sharing this personal experience she had with Swami Kriyananda, and how at the end of Swami's life, he said to her, "Thank you for all the love you've given me through the years." But the way Anandi was relating the story was in this impersonal way, that the wisdom of Swamiji, rather than making her feel special, it wasn't about her, it wasn't about him. It was just this gratitude for divine love.
Yes.
And I thought it was a very powerful talk and experience. But I wonder if you could maybe highlight that aspect of her, of the acceptance on that deeper level, and that self-honesty, to allow divine love to truly flow through in the giving and receiving.
Yeah, Nandi had tremendous self-honesty and courage, and the tiniest flaw that she would feel in her thinking, or just misconnecting with Swami on a level, she knew that there was something more for her, and so she would very earnestly just take whatever it was and offer it up, and with a lot of energy and a lot of love, and that helped her to change. And we've all changed to the degree that we have that quality, and so that was what was so admirable to her. Swami Kriyananda said that we should be in love with love, and that means to be so immersed in love. The last words that she said to me after one conversation after passing was that only love exists. Of course, other people have said that too, but when it's lived in full bloom, so to speak, it's very, very powerful. And if you're in love with love, you aren't in love with yourself, and you don't think of anything as your own. There's just this God-loving God. You see God in everything, the rocks, as Swami said, the birds, and you just get to a point where that's the only reality that is.
Yeah.
And when you talk to somebody, you feel God's love for them, and you see them in the light, and perfect in that light, in their deepest selves. And so, it's just so wonderful, and we can come to that, and we don't feel division or separateness between ourselves and the rest of life. And she had that very sensitive quality.
Yeah, it sounds like, I know Swami Kriyananda said at once that for our freedom, that we need to have deeper, longer, thirsty, guru-given meditation, and then feeling that God is the doer in everything.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Anandi got to that place of genuinely feeling God was the doer in her life. There was one other experience that she shared with Swami Kriyananda, that early on when she came, he gave her the advice, he said, to develop devotion. And then also he reiterated Yogananda's words to her and said, the minutes are more important than the years. So I wonder if you could draw that out a little bit in light of what we were just talking. The minutes are more important than the years. What did that mean, do you think, for Anandi, and how did that express itself?
Well, she really adhered to the spiritual teachings from moment to moment. Sometimes when there was a humorous situation or something, I might embellish something. and nothing, was just, she had a good sense of humor, but she was like the truth and only the truth and nothing else. So yeah, I think it's a humorous story, but she took every incident that way. And then by keeping every moment focused at the spiritual eye, as we talked about, and in every moment to serve God and God and others and help with Ananda's work, it was always that way. I mean, she could relax and that. When she was young, she wanted to be an FBI agent. and at night to relax, she would figure out these codes. So, everybody, I think actually Swami Kriyananda did that too. But anyway, she just every moment she was on and, would never say anything, negative about a person. And then, and then she was very sincere about meditating and stuff. And she just really gave it her all. She had her challenges at times, but she just kept at it. And she had many profound experiences. When Anandi would have an experience that was very exalted, she wouldn't go into the fireworks of it. She would just sort of say one sentence like, during his seclusion, the Swami lifted her higher than she's ever been before, and that was it. But there's a lot of stories about really the joy of offering yourself totally to God, and amazing things happen, from that. So those are there, but she just didn't. It was the principle. It wasn't. She wouldn't go into that at all.
Yeah, that was the other beautiful, the title of the book, Trained in Divine Love, that she always brought it back to the impersonal, universal aspect, and didn't point towards herself. Anything else, Bharat, that you wanted to share in regards to the book or on Anandi?
Well, Master has said that if you want to be close to someone, think of them in the evening, and then you'll be able to feel their presence in the morning. And throughout this whole book, because it was not quite a completed manuscript, and then also I took excerpts from all our letters to Master for part 3. I had a real dialogue with Anandi, and she would say different things. I'm sure she popped the name of the title in my ear and that. And I even had a dream. It was some months after she passed, and in 2008, she passed on January 2022, and I had received, it was called Swami's Edits, and it was stories about Swami in 2018, so in my email inbox, and I had saved. So I was aware of it, but I was writing my own books, and there was a project that she was working on, and I would see the stories, but I'd forgotten all about it after passing with all the many changes. And so during the night, this book on an energetic level just circled around my forehead, just was rotating. And I was trying to see the title because I knew that I was supposed to be involved with the book in some way, and I didn't know if I was to write a new book, it wasn't time for me to, but I just kept looking at it and I couldn't see the title. And then I woke up, and just outside my bedroom door, I heard Ananda's voice say blissfully, "Bye." And so she was very interested in that book, and then 5-6 days later, I found it in the hatch of our coffee table. Wow. Often had things on top.
Wow.
So, and then I found some letters from Swami. and then I knew what the book was to be, and so it was a real beautiful experience because I would get guidance from Anandi, and I was always talking with her and that, and then I would have some superconscious dreams of her at different times, and I was really learning a lot myself after passing in terms of. I think she went very, very high. I know she did, and she shared her experience with me in meditation, and I was trying to reach up to that level because she was formless and really expansive, and we'd helped each other on the path, and that, but I just felt like it was our relationships gotten stronger and stronger and much more profound during this time. So it really was a beautiful experience. In the book, many people have been very touched that have read the book as I was working on it. It's just been very, very touched by its depth, and many have felt spiritually changed. So I think it's going to be a great contribution to devotees.
Well, we are so grateful, Bharat, that you found that manuscript and followed the inspiration to share Anandi's essence through Trained in Divine Love. And a reminder for people, the book launch is going to be Saturday, November 4th, and we're going to have a special celebration event here at Ananda Village at the Temple of Light. And then people can find the book, of course, on Crystal Clarity's website. Thank you so much, Bharat, for sharing with us. And we look forward to going deeper together through the book with Anandi.
Thank you, Narayan. Blessings.